From exile to potentially winning power, Bangladesh's historic election yesterday looks on track to reversing the fortunes of party leader Tariq Rahman.
His Bangladesh Nationalist Party is projected by local media to win the polls with a convincing majority. Unofficial results put the BNP way ahead of its closest rival, Jamaat-e-Islami, in the race for the 300-seat parliament. The BNP projected to take 185 seats versus 56 for Jamaat. This is the first election since the 2024 uprising that ousted the Sheikh Hasina government from power.
BNP leader Rahman has reportedly told his party members not to hold any victory processions or rallies to celebrate. He urged them to hold special prayers instead. Mr. Rahman returned to Bangladesh 2 months ago after nearly 2 decades of self-exile abroad due to safety fears. Now, he's the son of the late former Prime Minister Khalida Zia and former President Ziaur Rahman.
The rival leader of Jamaat-e-Islami, Shafiqur Rahman, appeared to concede defeat soon after vote counting began, describing his party in opposition terms.
তবে আপনারা আশ্বস্ত থাকতে পারেন যে আমাদের দৃষ্টিভঙ্গি হবে ইতিবাচক ধারার রাজনীতি, কল্যাণ ধারার রাজনীতি, মানুষের জন্য রাজনীতি, দলের জন্য রাজনীতি নয়। আমরা বিরোধিতার জন্য বিরোধিতা, ওই রাজনীতি আমরা করব না।
The people's demand for change also appeared to fuel a parallel referendum on constitutional reforms. Reports say the yes votes are leading the count.
Voter turnout is expected to surpass the last election. A report citing Election Commission numbers put it at nearly 61%, up 20 percentage points than the 2024 poll.
Well, the party of ousted leader Sheikh Hasina Awami League has slammed the polls. It called it a well-planned farce, claiming voting rights, democratic values, and the Constitution were completely disregarded in an election without the Awami League. Now, for more insight on the polls in Bangladesh and what's at stake, let's speak now with Michael Kugelman. He's a senior fellow for South Asia at the Atlantic Council. Thank you so much for joining us, Michael. So, firstly, I want to get your reaction to BNP's projected victory. Do you see this a decisive mandate that settles questions of legitimacy?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if the projections hold, we're talking about a landslide victory from the BNP and what at this point seems to be a free, fair, and credible election. I'm not aware of any significant complaints about vote rigging or irregularities or anything like that. Thankfully, the election appears to have unfolded relatively peaceful with very little violence. So this is really, to this point, the best that you could hope for Bangladesh, which I would argue has not had a free and fair and credible election for quite some time. There were 3 elections in Bangladesh before today's, and none of them were viewed as free and fair by international election observers. So all in all, yes, I mean, this is a resounding, this would be a resounding victory for the BNP and certainly would reflect a situation where the party appears to have earned a strong, very strong, resounding mandate from the Bangladesh public.
Michael, can we conclude that the people of Bangladesh prefer an Islamic state that's governed by the rule of law, by checks and balances, meaning a system that's a little bit closer to a constitutional democracy as opposed to one that's built around, I guess, Islamism and perhaps Sharia law?
Yeah, well, that's what these election results suggest, because as I think you're noting indirectly, the BNP alliance was competing against the Jamaat-e-Islami-led alliance, and Jamaat is a right-wing Islamist party that has taken very strong positions, including, as you note, favoring the implementation of Sharia law, though its leadership has stepped back from that recently. And yes, I think that this does suggest perhaps that a significant majority of the population would prefer that you not have a government that is led by such principles. So it remains to be seen, though. I mean, Jamaat has been able to become quite prominent politically since the fall of Sheikh Hasina. And there was even some talk that it could be a wild card possibility to win the election. I suspect that if the results hold, that Jamaat will become a very robust opposition party, and that could have some effect as well. Even if the government itself is not one that reflects the views of Jamaat, Jamaat may be in a position to try to to be influential in the parliament in ways that could cause some challenges for the government.
Okay, so Jamaat as the opposition, where does it leave the NCP? We know that it consists of students who led the uprising against Sheikh Hasina.
Yeah, so I mean, the NCP had joined the Jamaat-led alliance, which some members of the NCP didn't actually like, because the NCP is all about doing things in a new way and not really being involved with any of the established parties. And Jamaat is a very established party. It's also notable, I think, that NCP and Jamaat were together in this alliance, and Jamaat has projected itself as a party of change for rejecting, the corrupt, patronage-driven system that Bangladesh has had for many years, and NCP is very much in favor of that as well. The fact that that alliance appears to be set for a significant defeat suggests that some of the ideas that really galvanized the mass movement in 2024, I don't want to say they've been discredited, but clearly were not reflected at the polling stations. And yet, as you noted before, there was a referendum in this election that really asked people to vote for certain changes, like corruption, anti-corruption reforms, and so on, that were very much a part of the mass movement. So it's a bit contradictory, right? In the sense that it appears that the referendum is going to pass by a large margin, supporting the change ideas that galvanize the mass movement, and yet those parties that are most associated with the mass movement and with these change ideas are set for a significant election loss.
And Michael, then what becomes of the Awami League? I mean, there are reports that some mid-level leaders are already pushing to recalibrate and reform the party. Is this the beginning of a reinvention or a prolonged decline?
Well, I think we have to look. I mean, the key signpost here when it comes to Awami League is, what does Sheikh Hasina have to say? And she's, of course, been in exile in India since her ouster. She's been very defiant. You noted before that she's essentially rejected this election. She does not strike one as someone who's ready to engage in introspection and to think of how to do things differently. At any rate, Awami League, it's banned from political activity, so it can't really do much at all. I think the best it can do is sort of sit back and try to play a long game and think about making a comeback sometime down the road if conditions change in Bangladesh and allow that. It's certainly not out of the realm of possibility. The BNP, the party that's set to lead the next government, was really left for dead, in the sense that it was suppressed and repressed for years by Sheikh Hasina and her party. And yet here it is in a position to return to power. And, one thing about politics in Bangladesh and South Asia more broadly, dynastic parties don't go away. And both the BNP and the Awami League are very much dynastic parties. And this is how government has looked in Bangladesh for most of its history, alternating rule between the BNP and the Awami League. So the Awami League will likely play the long game and hope for better fortunes down the road.
Okay, so now looking ahead, Michael, how quickly and smoothly can power transition from the interim administration to a new BNP-led government?
Yeah, well, first, the Election Commission has to certify the results, and that's, of course, the first step. But then I think my sense is that they'll want to be a desire to move as quickly as possible. To continue what has been, to this point, a very credible election process. I'm not sure exactly how long the process will take. I expect sometime on Friday, the Election Commission will certify the results. None of the parties have said that they're going to reject the results, other than the Awami League, but they're not a part of the picture anyway. And so in that sense, let's hope that in the next few days, the next government will take office.
Okay.
And you were talking about dynastic power, Michael. The country, as you were saying, has a history of dynastic power. Once again, we seem to have a leader whose mother was prime minister, father president. So a bit of deja vu here. I'm wondering, is this something that the country can break away from? And I guess this might be where the July Charter actually comes into play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tariq Rahman and other BNP leaders have all been saying the right thing, in the sense that they're committed to eliminate corruption and to essentially follow through on the reforms that the interim government had carried out, and to essentially honor the spirit of the revolution. one has to be a bit skeptical about those pledges because the BNP reflects the very political system that those behind the protests deplored, even though they were mainly protesting against the Awami League government. BNP does not have a good track record when it's been in power in the past. It's been repressive. There's been corruption allegations. So, I think that one will have to be quite optimistic to think that this will be a new BNP. But there will be a lot of pressure, and I think that you have a lot of young people in the country that are going to want those ideals from the revolution in 2024 to continue. So there'll be pressure on the BNP. So and that'll come from the opposition as well, including from the NCP. So it'll be a big test, I think, for the BNP. And one thing to watch for initially. Bangladesh's politics has been so polarized for so long. Politics are retributive. Whichever party is in power goes after the opposition party hard. The Awami League and the BNP never get along. Will we see the BNP take actions that crack down against what remains of the Awami League in Bangladesh today, or will it simply step back and call for national unity? I think that'll be an important first test if the BNP leads the next government to get a sense as to what politics in Bangladesh will look like, if it's going to be more of the same or if it's going to be something different and better.
Okay, Michael, always great to have you. Thank you very much for your insight this morning. We've been speaking to Michael Kugelman, Senior Fellow for South Asia at the Atlantic Council.